Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. Today is Thursday, January the 23rd, and I'm back with my second edition of my weekly tarot reading for all. I just want to do a quick follow up on last week's reading. I used the Butterfly Oracle deck, and we actually pulled the card Motivation, which at the time I was really trying to piece it together because I had a lot of thoughts coming into my head when that happened. But with everyone's feedback, I actually have to say it really hit home for everyone, and I'm so happy that it did. For many reasons, a lot of people said, it was relationship based, it was job based, and just a lot of life decisions have kind of. I think I touched on this actually, but a lot of life decisions, opportunities, emotions involved with life choices. A lot of that's been dug up to the surface more recently. And that has a lot to do with that wolf moon that we had earlier this month. I know that it was a full moon and a eclipse as well, which explains why it hit a lot of us so hard. But with it being that wolf moon, it really affected everyone. So even if you're not spiritually awakened or don't feel into spirituality that much, you probably still noticed it. You noticed it in that you've been feeling just really groggy, fatigued, anxieties just easy to trigger right now. And a lot of us just naturally equate that to the winter blues as we think of it, right? It's dark, it's cold, we don't want to go anywhere or do anything. But there's a few more components to that, and you really just have to sit with it, dig deep, see what resonates with you and what you need to change in your life right now. And I hope you find it helpful to at least just sit with your thoughts, sit with yourself, see if you're happy. That's the biggest question you have to ask yourself is, are you happy? And what can you do to make yourself happier? Because that is the ultimate question you need to be asking. So this week, I'm going to switch it up, and this time I'm going to use this Animal Spirit deck by Kim Kranz. I've really gotten into her style of decks. This is actually one of two that I have because I love the artwork, and what she's really done is she's taken what I kind of call the classic tarot deck, the 78 cards with the four suites and all the spread from ace up to queen and so on, and transfer that. But this one here is just based on animal spirits. So I'm going to give this deck a quick shuffle. And once again, what I like to do when I am doing a general reading is I just like to ask to present a card that would resonate with most of you, or at least in some way the message will resonate with something in your life or even someone in your life. Maybe that's a consideration too, right? Because we all know that outside factors, whether it's environment, other people, situations, they all affect our own well-being because we take those emotions, we look within, and depending on how situations affect us, we have to deal with it that way, right? So just give me a moment to kind of center in on this. And what I do is I tend to cut the deck and I just run my fingers along it to see where like my energy is being drawn to. Like I'll feel a card that's, just kind of sticking out to me, and that's the one I pull. I know you guys can't see this, so I just want to explain it to you real quick. Yeah, let's see what we have. This one's actually sticking out. Oh, okay. So we have the Scorpion. Just give you a quick good view of that there. And so for those of you that don't recognize this symbol up here, that is the symbol for the element fire. So in this situation, actually just when this card comes up in general, anything fire related, those creatures are those of the desert, grasslands, and this usually comes up because it's signifying something in your ego. In a time of change, actually, that's the biggest thing. It's like the heat is on. Decisions need to be made. You're feeling the pressure, wherever this pressure is coming from. Could be relationships, career related. And now, as I'm talking about it, I'm seeing this link to our previous reading for motivation. But yes, it's really telling you need to kind of look within. Even though all these circumstances may be outside of you, you have to look within and see what steps are needed for change. It's time to work on your ego, quiet it up a bit. It's not that ego is a bad thing, but we just want to have it in the place where it serves us instead of, what's the term I'm looking for? It just kind of pushes us out of our comfort zone too quickly. That's what can happen when you have like an overactive ego. Again, ego energy, great. It's great when you have a strong ego. That's what I mean to say. But it needs to be a healthy ego because you don't want to spin out of control. You don't want to lose control by any means of, let's say, sorry, something's coming to me and I'm trying to word it for you. Yeah, no, it's really that message of now is the time. Now is the time to embrace all that has happened to you, regardless of how crappy, pardon my language, the circumstances may be. No matter what's happened to you, now is the time to use it to your advantage, to flip it. And that's actually something I can talk a lot more on because, as some of you may know, I come from a very dysfunctional upbringing. Narcissism was part of me because that was all I knew for the longest time. So, even with that being said, I shied away from every opportunity. I did everything to hide myself. And it actually took me realizing that I can turn obstacles into opportunities to finally break free of those patterns. It's all about, stepping back, seeing it from an outsider perspective. Being objective about it and saying, you know what, okay, this is what I could or should do, whatever the case may be, right? But sorry, let's get back to the Scorpion card because there's actually a lot more to it. I was just kind of talking about the fire element and where it comes into tarot readings here. So Scorpion, it actually signifies a very passionate, competitive, introverted even person, someone that's very focused on making the most out of everything they do. Like, their career is very important to them. They hold a lot of regard in their reputation and all the work that they do. And even if I had to relate myself, because I can see the Scorpion in myself sometimes too, it has a lot to do with doing something important, doing something that makes the world better, even if it's in a very, very small way. So with this Scorpion energy, it kind of leads back to what I was saying about the fire element because because the Scorpion tends to hide and protect itself. That's what this energy within us does as well. Like, if times get tough, we just want to put ourselves away into the corner, kind of sleep it off, that kind of thing, wait and see what happens. But this is kind of your wake-up call to get out of that. That's great for self-care purposes, but now we need action. Action is what we need. And if we need to find the motivation for that action, we will, right? So digging in a bit further with that Scorpion energy, when it's in balance, you feel free. You feel like the wild woman or man that you are. And, you're fierce in all of your endeavors. You're very passionate about what you do, what your values are, what causes you are supporting. And this is just without shame when this is balanced right. So to bring it back into balance, actually, let's put it this way. If it's out of balance, you tend to be very jealous, resentful, have a lot of unresolved issues. Again, this is kind of, signifying we need to resolve some issues right now. And it has a lot to do with the ego. We do need to work on the ego to finally push our way out of our obstacles and to move on with our life. That's what I'm hearing. Moving on, that's a really big thing for a lot of people right now. To bring it back into balance, though, because that's what we want to do, is we want to be more honest and forgiving. And I understand sometimes this is hard, especially if you're like, okay, well, I've got all these situations I'm dealing with right now. I don't know how to even feel honest and forgiving towards myself or anything. The most important thing you need to do is one, be honest about how you feel. If you need to reach out, talk to people, do so. That's usually the best way to get started on making your own resolutions, is to just get outside your box, talk to other people. And sometimes when you get those opinions and feedback from others, that's when you usually have some kind of epiphany that you're like, no, you know what, you're right. Like, my mind was telling me this and made me believe this, but when you say it like that, it makes so much sense. Like, why didn't I think that way before, right? In terms of forgiveness, I mean, forgiveness in spirituality is so important. I mean, I myself know I need to practice it on a daily basis. I do have daily rituals for forgiveness, but you don't have to do that. The most important step that you need to take is to give yourself forgiveness. Forgive yourself for how you're feeling, because you know that there were reasons and positions you were put in that made you feel that way. So forgive yourself. Allow yourself to be forgiven for every mistake you made, because it was just a lesson, bump on the road. Forgive yourself for being in the position that made you feel like a victim in any way. Like, if you were victimized in any way, any situation, talking abuse or not. But I mean, let's face it, no, it just takes someone to say something and your ego shot, right? I mean, that's something that we're all starting to become very more accepting of, is that words can hurt. And for those of us that are quite sensitive, that just plays over and over in our mind until we start to believe it. And then next thing you know, that becomes a part of you too. So stop, just, I know it sounds harsh, but stop thinking. Forgive yourself. Be honest about how you feel, what you need right now, and forgive yourself for being that way. Because let's face it, in a lot of situations, it wasn't necessarily our fault. We didn't want a lot of bad things to happen to us, but unfortunately, bad things happen anyways. And one of the things that I've personally learned from my journey is the best thing you can do is pick yourself up, be a much better person, be happy, do things that make you happy, and just go on with your life. And honestly, that is the best thing that you can do after any unfortunate situation. If it helps, because this is what helped me with that realization, is you gotta stop and think, okay, well, I'll use my example so it makes sense. Well, what's the worst thing that my abusers could see? Because let's face it, the way that I was and the way that my life was going, I couldn't live for myself. I couldn't make my own decisions. That was very much barred from me. And so I had no boundaries. So for me to actually be like, you know what, I've got boundaries now. I'm doing what I want. I'm taking control of my life. And look at me over here just doing my thing and being happy, right? And for me, I just realized that is actually the probably worst thing that those people can see, is to see that, you know what, I didn't wallow in my sorrow. I'm not sitting over here constantly feeling sorry for myself. I mean, we do it just a little bit sometimes, but it's kind of just like that reminder that we need to pick ourselves up again. But like, don't let yourself sink into the expectations that those situations and those people put on you, because that in itself is the creator of false beliefs and a lot of problems that people have nowadays. But anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. That's my 2 cents for today. So the Scorpion card. Let's see if we can work on your ego, get it to a place where it motivates you but doesn't overwork you. That's the balance you want. And of course, again, kind of brings the balancing of the masculine and feminine energies, is we want to be able to feel in control, take charge, but don't overdo it. You don't want to burn yourself out. And that's the one thing the Scorpion comes up to say to us, is that usually we wallow in the decisions or situations that have burned us in the past. We need to let go of those past things and move forward. So I hope you enjoyed this reading this week, and if you're just joining me on YouTube and enjoyed this, I'd love it if you give it a like and subscribe. Join me next Thursday and every Thursday for my weekly tarot reading, and soon I'll be posting some other videos as well. Thanks. Hope you're all having a great day. Namaste.